So, Lisa, you're the only only other one on the call. Can you unmute yourself and just let me know about your history? I know I don't think you've ever done a triathlon, right? But you're a runner.
Yes, I've never done a triathlon. I've done a marathon and several half marathons.
Okay, cool.
Brand new to bike swimming.
Okay, cool. So this is going to be fun for you. And if you put in the workout time, you're going to see that it's going to be just enough to get you across the finish line and hopefully ask you, make you wanting more. Like I said, I don't told you guys this, but I've only had one person ever do their first triathlon and not continue and want to do more triathlons. But the mistake I think that they made was they went right for a half Ironman. They never did a sprint. They never did an Olympic. And I think that's a mistake because the half Ironman is no joke, right? And it's very taxing on the body. And to go right for that without having the experience of the sprint, I recommend at least 3 sprints and maybe 2 Olympics before you go on to the half Ironman. But anyway, so thank you for sharing. I don't know if you guys know about me, but I've done over 200 triathlons. And every single race, I learned something, even to this day, especially because we're rusty right now, nobody's been racing. I mean, like I said, I'm just going to get out there and have some fun, but every single race teaches me something. And the whole thing is in this clinic I'm going to give you today, some of the things you're like, well, I can't do that for the race. So just apply what works for you. And you want to practice, right? So we have the opportunity. The race is going to be next weekend, not this weekend, or maybe it's going to be in a couple weeks. And I think Ken is actually going to race the race too. So we've got a handful of people that are going to race, but this is a lot of great content for you to apply to race day, even if you have experience or more of a beginner, but even veterans will get some tips out of here. So take what works and practice it from what I'm going to give you today. Maybe the transitions, you're not going to leave your bike shoes on the bike the first time, but practicing tomorrow, and I'm going to demonstrate that could be something that you want to work for a future race. And we have, like I said, time before race day that we can actually get prepared. This clinic this PowerPoint that I created, I'm trying to put it into slideshow, but I'm having technical difficulties. So we'll just go through the slides. But the thing is, you can apply this information to any kind of sprint or Olympic distance race. And there's no question that's too silly. So please stop me. I can't see you guys because of the way the technology is working. So if you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask me, because I want you to have the question in the moment. And I'm totally here to support you. And if you need anything after we're done, you can always reach out to me privately. Stay all the way to the end. Okay, so you guys know about me. It's like I said, I've done over 200 races. I've been doing this for 23 years, and I learned something from every single race. This actual PowerPoint is not about the race next weekend because I wasn't sure if it was actually happening. So it's a new race program, a race company called Game On Race Productions, and Willie is the owner. And she used to work for Multi-Race, so she's very experienced. She was with Multi-Race for 20 something years. So she's awesome, and she does a great job at presenting her races, and I'm excited to help support her as well. So let's just talk about the week before the race. So next week, you actually want to lower your volume of training. Really finish this week. We have today and we have tomorrow, and even Sunday, I would recommend training a little bit. And then start maybe Monday or Tuesday, you can still do a little bit of something, but you want to start taking it easy Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because you want to let your body absorb the training that you've done, okay? You want to mentally start to prepare for the race. You want to get a bike tune-up, maybe get a massage, do some extra stretching, use your foam roller. And I'm going to ask you guys to submit to me, everyone who's racing, a race plan. So we're going to go over what that is, because it really just helps you lay out a map for the race, and it kind of helps you follow the map to have a perfect outcome. I have an athlete, like I said, who's racing in Iowa on this Sunday. So he already sent me his race plan, and we had to tweak it. And he's been with me, this is his 2nd year, and he's done quite a few races. But it's important to do a race plan for every single race you're going to do, because you forget things. And there's little things that make a big difference on the outcome. Okay, so typically, like I said, you're going to apply some of this information to other races. When you have a longer race, like a half Ironman or Ironman, you want to taper longer, like 10 days, maybe even 2 weeks for an Ironman. But for a sprint, you don't only need 2 to 3 days. And for an Olympic distance, you could go 5 to 7 days, depending on how hard you've been training and how much you've been pushing. You kind of have to ask your own body that question. And experimenting with tapering longer or shorter is also a good idea, because some people get stale when they take too much time off or do too much easy stuff. They actually start to get slower and feel less fit. So you kind of have to play with it. But for this first one, I definitely recommend a minimum of 3 to 4 days. So I would say by Wednesday, you guys are taking it easy next week. And that doesn't mean do nothing, but it means do 20 to 30 minutes of movement, like walking and running, swimming or biking, with a couple pickups. I call them ORPs, over race pace pickups, or sprints, just to remind the body that, you know, we want to keep you fresh and moving and not just doing everything slow. Okay. So even though you're not going to kill the race, your very first triathlon, right? You're going to feel like you're pushing hard. So you want to make sure you in training have pushed a little bit. Just because your heart is going to be high, you're going to have a little excitement before the race. And even though you're not really pushing, you're going to feel that anxiety. And sometimes when you push during workout, you can simulate the way it's going to feel on race day. So I definitely want you to do that leading up to the race. And still allow for recovery of training, meaning you're not doing more than 20 to 30 minutes and you're getting lots of good sleep the whole week, eating really, really clean. Like, please make it a priority not to go out and have wine and, you know, kind of just be smarter. Don't give yourself a chance to get food poisoning or have a setback, right? You've worked all this time. You don't want to mess it up with doing something maybe out of the ordinary before the race, okay? The cool thing about sprint races, though, that if you do something like that, you can always race again in a couple weeks because it doesn't take that much out of your body. But it definitely affects longer races like half Ironman and Ironman. You don't want to risk that, okay? So we sent you guys a race day checklist, which I highly recommend. I can actually hand one to you tomorrow if you come to the workout. It's awesome. I can tell you, as I said, I think I'm close to 300 races at this point. I haven't actually dialed them all up. I know I'm over 200, but every race, typically I'll forget something, right? So I actually created this list for myself. I mean, I've gone to races and forgot my sneakers, right? And had no shoes to go running in. I have had a contact pop out, right? So these are just always things. This list of things is basically covers every single thing that you could possibly need for a race. And it's good to just check over it and make sure you have everything. I have a race bag that I keep everything in, which kind of helps keep all my stuff organized too. So here's the race plan. So you want to write out everything from the morning before the race. So if the race is on Sunday, from Saturday morning all the way through the end of the race on Sunday, I want you to write everything out. What I'll do is maybe I'll send you guys next week, I'll send you guys a sample race plan just so you can kind of copy it, and then you can fill in the details for yourself of what you're going to have for breakfast, right? What your mantras are going to be. And if you don't know what a mantra is, we're going to get to that. And how to use TriCalc 3, which I'm going to explain in a minute. And then I also want you to dial in any concerns along with their solutions, right? So if you're concerned about having a flat tire or panicking in the swim, we want to address that now. Right? You want to have a plan in place so that psychologically something like that happens during the race. You're like, oh yeah, I thought about this. And this, I remember Coach Erinne told me to roll over my back to breathe when I felt panicky in the water, or she reminded me to blow my bubbles. So I'm going to do that right now. So having the concerns written out and then their solutions and then practicing those solutions is a great way to prevent any of that stuff from happening. And then if you have a concern about having a flat tire, the good thing is you should really learn how to change a flat tire. We actually have a video on our YouTube channel on how to change a flat tire, especially the rear tire, which can be a little tricky. But does anybody have any concerns that they want to talk about right now? You can unmute yourself. Okay.
So yeah, my concern is mainly the swimming, you know, when everybody like gangs up and yes. That's my concern.
Okay, perfect. So I'm actually going to show you a slide of that exact situation, and we're going to go over exactly how to avoid it. But basically, you're going to seed yourself accordingly. You're not going to start in the middle and the front of the group of swimmers. You're going to start to the side, maybe to the back right or the back left, depending on if there's any current or anything like that. And you're gonna ease your way in. The other thing that's gonna help you prevent like that scared feeling when you first start the race is practicing your swim before the race starts. We're gonna have a time, we're gonna get to the race with enough time to actually ride our bikes, do a little run, and then do a little swim before the race starts, so that you actually calm yourself down, you get familiar with the terrain and how the race conditions are gonna be, so that you have a lot more confidence when the race gun goes off. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so TriCalc3 is an awesome little app that I like to use. And even for first-time racers, I want you to have an idea of how long the race is gonna take you, okay? So I'm not 100% positive if the bike is 10 miles or 13 miles, but you can look it up on the website. But the swim, I'm pretty confident is gonna be either 400 or 500 meters. So you can see right here how you can plug in all the numbers, okay? And you're gonna add in your transitions. I would recommend at least 2 to 3 minutes for your first transition. And the same thing, maybe 2 for the second transition. And we can actually time them tomorrow, but we have to see how far the water is gonna be from the actual transition area. So, you know, these are things we're gonna learn about as we go, but you're gonna be able to plug in the numbers and get a race time, okay? So you can't really see this. It's like I think it's like 105. And this is also cool if you want to compare to future races, that you can dial in. Well, if I want to take 5 minutes off my time, you can play with all these numbers of how fast you need to ride the bike and how fast you need to run to accomplish your goal, okay? So TriCalc3 is just a great tool to use, you know, before any race. So I always have my athletes send me one of these as their goal. And sometimes they'll send me 2. They'll send me, this is my realistic goal. And then this is if I really blow it out of the park, like my dream goal. Like a lot of people aim to have a sprint distance triathlon be a sub 1 hour, okay? So what to wear. So these pictures are kind of old. We have our old kits. I need to update these, but definitely recommend a one-piece tri-suit or a 2-piece tri-suit. Nothing cycling, right? They do have one-piece tri-suits that have sleeves now, but honestly, how hot it is right now in the summer down here, even in Fort Pierce, it's gonna be hot. I do kind of recommend the sleeveless unless you've practiced with the sleeve, but you can find tri-suits all over the place. Usually bike stores or tri-stores have them. We actually have an order going in right now. So if you do want any full circle kits, there's still time if you order today from the website, but this is like the drop dead last time. Because we want to get them back in a couple weeks. And I know Monica already ordered hers. So hopefully today is it. We're submitting the full order. But anyway, so a tri-suit or a one-piece or 2-piece. One-piece is typically a little faster, but you do have to remember you have to unzip it completely to go to the bathroom. So it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt. So if you're not sure, you can always get the 2-piece, okay? But it's meant to be tight, right, and fitted so that it dries quickly when you come out of the water and doesn't chafe, right, or catch wind. We're not gonna have to worry about speed suit or wetsuit. Wetsuit is for when it's cold, and it actually helps you float. And then a speed suit, which is what I'm wearing, it actually helps you slip through the water. I'm gonna consider wearing a speed suit for the race next week, just because I haven't been swimming and I need every little bit I have, every little bit of advantage I have. It's kind of like a dolphin skin, so it repels the water so that you can swim more quickly through the water. And they're very, very comfortable, and they go over your tri-suit, okay? So race prep, you're not gonna be able to pick up your packet the day before. Or maybe if you go on Saturday to the race site, you'll be able to pick up your packet, but they always have race day packet as well, packet pickup. And these are the things that are usually within your packet, right? So your race numbers, there's usually 3 numbers, a helmet number, a bike number, and a run number, a timing chip that you're gonna put on your left ankle. And the danger if they give you this the night before is that you might forget it. So that's why I put the cue to toothbrush. Put it by your toothbrush, because hopefully in the morning you're gonna wake up and brush your teeth and you'll see your timing chip and you'll remember to put it on. And then there's also usually swag, right? The other thing about the timing chip, you always wanna put it on your left ankle, because just in case it starts to open up or the Velcro kind of opens up, it won't get caught up in your gearing, which is on the right-hand side of the bike. You know, it's just one of those things. I usually like to use my safety pins. I always have extra safety pins in my race bag to anchor down the timing chip so that it doesn't come off, right? Because you would hate that to happen, that they don't have a record of your race just because the timing chip fell off. Okay, so swim basics, you want to focus on safety, number one, breathing, balance, kicking, stroke mechanics, and your training, which you've already done the training, right? If you're in the pool, and I heard Lisa say she's finally able to get the distance, she's ready, right? Bike, you want to think about safety first, always. Gearing, handling, what to wear, we talked about that. And then the running. So this is my race bag. I always have everything together, like I said, in one place. One thing that you might be surprised about is I have baby powder and some kind of non-petroleum like lube, which is like kind of like Vaseline. And I use those to help prevent blisters because I don't race with socks. And I actually did a video of a transition yesterday. So you guys are gonna have a little video that you can refer to before the race. We're gonna put it out next Tuesday. I like to bring defogger just in case my goggles start to fog up. The newer the goggles, the less chance of that happening. And I always bring 2 pairs of goggles, a tinted pair and a dark pair. I mean, a light pair, like completely clear, just in case it's like cloudy or it's hard to see. And then I always have a tinted pair in case it's super, super sunny. I bring electrical tape, and I'll show you why in a minute, because I usually use electrical tape to anchor down my food, my gel. I tape it to the top tube of my bike. And I always bring extra food and, of course, sunscreen, safe, healthy sunscreen. And then I always bring my own Sharpie, just because a lot of times it may be a line to get into the race, the transition area. And if you just write your own number, make sure you write it the right way or have a friend write it. You can get into the transition area because you want to put your number on both sides. So this was my number for the race, 475. So I put 475 on each arm. And then I also put my, actually they'll ask you for your age. You can put it on your calf. And sometimes they'll have you put your number on your leg as well. And I always recommend using a visor to help protect your face from the sun, and then a race belt. That's where you're going to put your run number. Okay. And I always bring my extra contacts, as I mentioned before. So these are typically the race numbers. So these 3 numbers are what you're going to use. This little one goes on the front of your bike. And this one's really important if they have photographers at the race, which I'm not sure if they're going to for this race. They might not even have this number in your packet, but this helps identify you to the photographer so they can then send you pictures of yourself from the race. So it's kind of cool because we all kind of look alike with our helmets on. So the other 2 race numbers are the bike number, which goes on the seat tube of your bike, and then your run number, which is on my race belt here, which I'm going to show you in the next slide. But let's focus on the bike number first. So this is the bike number, and I usually put it here just because it's the most aerodynamic place. You can put it down here too, or even right here, but you want to avoid putting it too high because this is paper and it will actually cut you on your thighs. So I've actually had my race number right here, and as I'm pedaling, I look down and I have paper cuts all over my inner thighs because the race number was rubbing me, right? So that was a lesson learned, okay? And then the run number goes on your run belt, and you don't have to have a run belt or race belt, but honestly, it's like super inexpensive. I think they're like $6 to $9 or even $10, but you just snap your race number right on there, and then you only need this number for the run. You don't need to wear it on the bike at all, okay? So those are the 3 numbers. So 2 days before the race, you actually want to take the whole day off. So Friday, I recommend a complete day off, maybe get a massage. I didn't mention this before, but I would definitely have your bike checked out, check your wheels, your tires, maybe Tuesday of next week if your race is that Sunday. And just make sure you're going to get good sleep every single night of the week. Be hydrating, electrolytes, especially because it's so hot down here in Florida. And just start getting all your stuff together. Use the checklist, right? The day before the race, I actually recommend to swim, bike, and run a little bit and include some ORPs, those over race pace sprints. And if possible, you're going to practice on the course. So if you guys know you're going to be up there on Saturday, you could actually bring all your stuff and do a little warm up on the race course so that you sleep really well Saturday night because you're confident about exactly what's going to be happening the next day. And always check out the weather conditions and just be prepared. If you know it's going to rain, you know, you're going to be prepared for that. If you know it's going to be super hot, you want to be super hydrated, right? So always be prepared or do everything you can the day before so that you have that good night of sleep. But honestly, don't worry if you don't sleep too well the night before the race because you can still have a great performance. It's the whole week leading up to the race that you want to have really good sleep and eat clean. So nutrition, so very individualized. You kind of never want to try anything new on race day as a rule anyway. So it's important to stick to that rule for yourself. But we have time, right? So if you're not sure what to have before a race, I can definitely give you some suggestions on my blog, on my website. I have my 3 tried and true breakfasts, right? So we're gonna get to those in a minute. But typical, carbohydrate breakfast is what people normally eat, like maybe oatmeal and stuff like that. So I'm definitely not a fan of that stuff. So, but if that's what you're used to, please stick with it. But in the future, you could consider changing things up a little bit. So don't eat more than your normal amount. Like you don't have to carbo load, especially before a sprint triathlon. The night before the race, you do not need to eat a huge bowl of pasta. Like it's completely not necessary. Just have the normal amount of food. But you do always want to have a combination of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. So your tried and true breakfast, like I said, if it is oatmeal, I would definitely recommend adding a little protein to that. Maybe have a hard-boiled egg or a scrambled egg with the oatmeal so you have a little more protein. Or even if you're traveling, some protein powder in the oatmeal. So you have a little bit of blood sugar stabilization and not just all carbs. You could also add some butter or coconut oil to the oatmeal just to help stabilize the blood sugar with some fat. Okay, so the day before the race, I recommend lunch being the biggest day of the meal of the day. And then dinner can kind of be the same combination of fats, carbs, and proteins, but a smaller amount. And you want to stay away from high fiber. Like you wouldn't, or like fried foods. You wouldn't have French fries and chips and like a big salad for dinner, because that could definitely come back to haunt you on the race. You don't need extra fiber in any way. If you get my drift. But hydrate, and add a little bit of sea salt to that water you're drinking. So for me, my 3 things are chia pudding, which I love, chia seeds, coconut milk. I actually have a recipe. It's called Better Than Oatmeal that you can practice with this week and see how you feel, and then do a little training on it and see how you feel. I love 2 eggs, a half a sweet potato with butter or almond butter mixed in. That's probably one of my favorite breakfasts too. And I do have a couple athletes that have a hard time eating a lot before races, but they found that when they ate nothing, they had no energy. So you got to eat something, and it could be as little as coconut water mixed in with a little protein powder and some chia seeds to help just stabilize your blood sugar and give you a little energy for the race. So there's the blog again. So the day of the race, you want to get to the race site with enough time to be able to set up your transition area, or actually not even set up your transition, but get there, maybe do a little bike warm up, a little run warm up, then set up your transition area, and then go for a swim. So nutrition wise, having a banana, a gel, about 20 to 30 minutes before the race is the last thing you're going to eat. You don't want to be eating too much to the swim, too close to the swim, because you're going to be horizontal. And if you have a bunch of food in your stomach, it actually can make you sick. So 20 minutes is my cut off for eating, and actually drinking 10 minutes before. You don't want to keep drinking because sometimes you'll have to go to the bathroom on the bike, right? Or even during the run. So cut off your eating 20 to 30 minutes before, have a gel or a banana, and then that should carry you through the swim. On the bike, depending on how long it is, you don't really need much more than a water bottle with some sea salt in it, and then 1 gel. That's pretty much all you're gonna need for a sprint distance triathlon. For an Olympic, I would take 2 gels on the bike. And then on the run, typically nothing, depending on how long you're gonna be out there. For a sprint distance run, you don't really need anything. You can make it through 5K. But for an Olympic, you might need to have 1 more gel at the beginning of the race for the run to be able to finish strong. And I do recommend gels or gummies over like a bar, because it's super hard to chew when you have a high heart rate and you're pushing. Okay, so stick to more liquid foods or gummies that are easy to digest. Now, caffeine is a big subject, because if you drink coffee normally, you definitely want to continue to drink coffee because it does give you energy. You're used to that, right? But you can make it work better for you. It's actually a legal ergogenic aid, which means that it actually helps you perform better. So as you're leading into the race, if you want to have a better caffeine boost on race morning, you can actually decrease your caffeine all week, and then on race morning have your normal 1 or 2 cups of coffee, and you'll have a big boost when you race. Caffeine during the race can be a little tricky just because it does stimulate your bowels to go to the bathroom. And in the morning, you have a lot of time to go to the bathroom, and it's totally normal to go to the bathroom a couple times in the morning before the race because your body's actually getting ready to compete or to be in battle. So it's normal to eliminate a lot. But caffeine can make that happen in the middle of the race, right? So if you take a gel with high caffeine content, it can actually make you have to go to the bathroom. So you got to pick and choose when you're going to have that caffeine. Long course racing, I do recommend caffeine during the second half of the bike and the second half of the run. But for short course, you don't really need it. You should be able to be fine on your morning breakfast coffee. Okay, so race day, follow what you wrote out in your race plan, right? Wake up 2 to 3 hours before the race, eat 300 to 700 calories of low fiber, good fat, carbs and protein combination, your tried and true breakfast. Something you've eaten before. Remember to hydrate all morning. Remember to put your timing chip on your left foot, body mark yourself using a Sharpie. Don't write your numbers backwards like I have. And even upside down. Sometimes you'll get like tattoos for the race numbers. Don't put them on upside down. Check your bike. Make sure the tires are pumped up to actually it's between 90 and usually 120 PSI for most bikes. Pick up your packet. That's where you're gonna have all your stuff. And you usually have to have the specific color race cap for your swim, which we'll get to in a minute. You wanna have make sure your helmet is legal. Most helmets are legal these days, but you know, they'll be checking in the transition area if your helmet's legal. So if it's a newer helmet, it's probably gonna be fine. And just make sure your bike is working. Make sure the air is holding in the tires, you're spinning, the brake isn't rubbing. And always remember to leave your bike in an easy gear before you rack it on the transition rack. Okay, so dynamic warm-up. Bike for a couple, 15, 20 minutes, include a couple orps. Run, same thing, run to the bathroom, run through the finish line, and then hydrate. Then you're gonna set up your transition area in order of use, which I'm gonna take a picture of in a minute, and we're gonna have a video for you guys on Tuesday. And if you're wearing socks, great, no problem. Just roll the socks down into a little circle, put a little baby powder in there so they're super easy to get on your foot. And line up everything in order of use. You know, sunglasses are open, your helmet is unbuckled and sitting on your bike. You want to make it as simple as possible to get from the swim to the bike. And then visualization. You want to run through this whole process a couple times in your head, but basically this is what it's going to look like. I put my helmet down on the floor, but typically I would hang it right here on my handlebars, and this is just set up in my trainer in my house. So this is my transition area. That's pretty much all I need. I leave a towel on the floor to wipe my feet off, and I'll usually use a hand towel, something small, to wipe my face off if I feel like I'm gonna need it, and if it's super hot, which I will. So I think about coming in, and I leave my bike shoes on the bike, but your bike shoes would be here on the floor if you're not gonna have them on the bike, which most of you will not. And basically you're gonna come in from the swim. The first thing you're gonna do is take off your your swim cap and your goggles and run with them to your transition area. Then you're gonna maybe wipe your face off and wipe your feet off and put your feet inside the bike shoes. Then you're gonna put your helmet on and buckle it. It's really important to buckle the helmet so that you don't get disqualified or get a penalty because you're on your bike or moving your bike without your helmet buckled. Once you do it, then you don't have to think about it. And your goggles, ideally your sunglasses are open in here. Sunglasses open, put them on your face, then then helmet on and buckle, right? Then you're gonna walk or run with your bike to the mount line. So the transition area is a big square. And basically there's racks where you keep your bikes based on your race number. So this race number was 809. So I would be on a rack that said 800 to 810. Okay. So as long as my bike is racked on that rack because of my number, I'm good to go. So then you're going to get your bike, walk or run with your bike, which we're going to practice tomorrow, outside of transition. And then you want to take your time getting on your bike. You know, silly accidents happen when you're getting on and off your bike, and you want to have those times be the safest, most calm places, right? So things to consider: shoes in the pedals. Most of you guys are not ready for that, but are you going to wear socks? Maybe, maybe not. Some of you guys have been practicing not wearing socks. Pacing. So pacing is a big one. For your first race, it's really about participating and feeling good the whole time and not really killing it and pushing too hard. Especially the big mistake is people push way too hard on the bike and then they suffer on the run and they can't really do what they're capable of. So it's better to hold back a little bit. Feel like you're pushing, like, you know, you're giving a good effort, but you're not wasting yourself so that you have to walk on the run. And if you need to walk, no big deal. It's fine to walk during the run. Make sure to have your chip on your left ankle. Are you going to wear a speed suit or not? Remember the clear and tinted goggles. And then rip laces or elastic laces in your running shoes. I do recommend that just because it's easier to put a running shoe on when you don't have to tie your shoelaces. Believe it or not, when your heart rate's at 160 and you just got off the bike and you're trying to tie your shoelaces, it can be a challenge. So having the elastic laces allows you to just slide your foot right in, put a little baby powder and Vaseline in there, and you can, even with socks, put your foot in really, really easily, okay? So race start, you're gonna be lining up in order of the wave that you're gonna leave in, and those are based on age groups. So depending on how many people are in the race, for this race that's coming up, there's about 200 people signed up so far. So you'll probably have a wave of like 20, maybe 20 to 30 people, or maybe less. And everybody should have the same color swim cap. You wanna line up with those people and kind of just wait for the race to start and do what you need to do to help calm yourself down. You've already biked a little bit, you've already run a little bit, you've already swam a little bit. So, you know, you should be ready to go and just kind of have your positive self-talk, like, I got this, right? Having those mantras in place can really, really make a huge difference. One of my favorite ones, and I also like to listen to music. So I'll have a song for the theme of the day that I'll listen to on the way to the race that I'll have in my head, and that'll be sticking with me. And then mantras like bubble, bubble, breathe for the swim, or kick, 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 right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sight, right? You want to sight for where you're going. We're going to talk about the swim in more detail. But having those mantras and that self-talk can really, really make a huge difference on your performance on race day. Okay, I know it's a little long, but we're gonna get through this. So this is a typical race from Trilogy, but it's gonna be a typical outline for the race. You're gonna have to go out. I think this race might be a triangle, but I'm not 100% sure how they're gonna set it up. But typically you go out, you make a right-hand turn, and come back to shore, and it might be left. I have no idea. So tomorrow at practice, we'll do both. We'll practice both directions, and the Olympic distance race is gonna be longer, right? So really good idea just to test the water out, see how deep it is, how clear it is, so you can really get a handle on it. So I don't know if you can see me, but this is Swim Miami. So this is a little bit different. This is a swimming event, and it's all swimmers, right? And these people are beasts, right? Typical triathlons, you're not gonna be in this big of a group, but sometimes you never know. So this is my athlete, Gabby, and me, and I'm actually thinking about my process, right? I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do during the race and kind of going within. And I taught her to do that as well. She's been with me since she was 7 years old, and she's now 16 and still a rockin' triathlete. So anyway, so this is kind of how the race start's gonna go. Most likely you're gonna be in like waist deep water. And Monica, what you would do is say the buoy's over here, right? You would line up a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right and let all these people go, right? So that you just follow in right behind them and not get caught up in the mayhem, okay? You wanna seed yourself accordingly. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so we're not gonna worry about wetsuits. Just for future use though, if the water is 78 degrees or less than 78 degrees, you can wear a wetsuit, but it's definitely way hotter than that. Also, quick tip, always remember to practice wearing your goggles underneath your swim cap, just in case someone bumps your goggles or you get kicked a little bit or there's a wave on a future race. Your goggles could go flying off, right? But when they're anchored by your swim cap, you don't have to worry about it. Fins are illegal in races, but you can actually wear a snorkel if you want to. Believe it or not, that's legal. And you want to seat yourself accordingly, just like we just discussed. Don't line up in the front and the middle if you're worried about having a panic attack or it's your first race. Like, take your time. There's no, believe it or not, the more controlled you swim, the faster the swim will be over, okay? So the more you try to push through the water, especially your first race, the more likely you're gonna have a little bit of a pushback from your heart and your lungs. So it's better to just chill out, do what you can do, swim freestyle as much as possible. And if you need to swim to breaststroke or switch to breaststroke or roll over on your back to breathe, that's totally fine. We're gonna go through some steps to take if you do have a panic attack. Now, sighting. Sighting is one of those things that you have to look where you're going in the swim. And if you don't, you can end up swimming a half a mile instead of a quarter of a mile, or a mile instead of a half a mile if you're not looking up every 5 strokes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're breathing. You're still breathing when you do that. And then you'll look up to sight where you're going. I recommend every 5 strokes, your first race, just so you stay in as short and straight a line as possible. Okay, and then you're also going to do, you can switch to breaststroke, and you can also even roll over on your back to breathe. Like say you start to feel panicky, which can totally happen. A lot of times people will literally report saying to me, I don't know what happened, I forgot how to swim, right? So that's where having those mantras and making sure you have that warm up is essential. And if you need to, you can actually rest with a lifeguard. It's totally legal. There's going to be a few on the course, on paddle boards or in kayaks, and you can totally hang out with them until you feel comfortable to swim to the next kayaker or to swim back to shore, right? The idea also is to remember to stay horizontal as much as possible. Try not to go vertical in the water because this is way harder to swim than if your head's down and you're kicking and you're kind of driving forward, and breathing often. Remember to swim all the way to shore. Okay, so this is going to be in a river, and we might actually, I'm pretty sure it's a beach though. You come out of a beach, it might be a ladder. Okay, there might be a dock and a ladder. So either way, swim all the way. Try not to stop swimming until the very, very last minute. You're always faster swimming than running in the water. I don't know if this video will start. I don't think so, but this is an example of a race I was at. This is like an age group race, but you can see they are sprinting to the water. Only experienced triathletes should do this. And then here's an example of kind of like the mayhem. And this is where you guys would be like kind of hanging more in the back. Okay. So what happens if you have a panic attack? Remember to practice actually having a panic attack in training. So tomorrow we're actually going to practice getting out of breath and what you're going to do to calm yourself down and get out of it. Remember to blow your bubbles. You can always switch to breaststroke and then roll over on your back to breathe. Rest with a lifeguard and repeat as necessary, all of those things. And the more you practice in the open water, the less of a chance that that's going to happen during the race. Okay. So you're going to come into the beach, you're swimming all the way, you're kicking all the way until 2 hands touch the sand, meaning you're not standing up in too deep of water. And then you're going to stand up carefully. Sometimes you get a little dizzy because you've been horizontal, right? So take your time standing up and then walk or run up the beach. I highly recommend taking your swim cap off as soon as possible because your heat is held in your hat, your swim cap. And sometimes, especially the water is really warm. I was just swimming there yesterday in a similar area. And the water got hot. So definitely take your swim cap off first, your goggles, and then hold them in your hand as you run up the beach to get to your bike. You're gonna find your transition area, find your bike, you're gonna put your sunglasses on, put your helmet on, make sure the helmet's not backwards. A lot of times people put their helmets on backwards. And just as far as what to wear for guys don't need a top. You can actually just wear shorts. So you might see some guys out there with just shorts on, but girls, we have to wear shorts. I mean, tops. So socks or no socks, hydration on the bike while moving, and you must have your bike number on your bike. And remember, you have to walk or run with your bike out of transition to get on past there's a mount line that you have to get past before you're allowed to get on your bike. You cannot get on your bike inside transition. Let's see if we have this video. I don't know if this is gonna work. So Lilia, can you see the video?
I'm now going to talk you through the swim to bike transition. Helen's going to demonstrate it and how you can practice it in your back garden. Helen's kit's laid out next to her bike in the most efficient way for her to have a quick transition. As Helen's running into transition, she's already undoing her wetsuit and folding it off to her waist.
We don't have to worry about wetsuits.
She's taking the wetsuit off her arms, down past her waist. As it gets past her waist, she uses her feet to take the wetsuit off the remainder of the way. As she's taking it off past her feet, she's then taken off her hat and goggles. Once they're off, glasses on, helmet on, and fastened properly. Then bike shoes on, and done up nice and tight, ready for the cycle. She grabs the bike and runs out of transition. In that transition, notice that Helen put her bike shoes on while she was stood next to the bike. That's the best way to perform a transition for beginners and people who are less confident with putting their bike shoes on while riding. If you're an experienced cyclist and you're used to handling your bike, then what you can do is have your bike shoes already attached to the pedals and then attached to the frame with the
Okay, yeah, so I have a video actually of that in the next one where someone's doing that. So so please go on the website of whatever race you're gonna do and look at the map. right? So helmet on, must be snapped. You always want to ride on the right-hand side of the bike course, just like you're in a car. You're going to always stay on the right-hand side unless you're passing. There is this thing called drafting. You do not want to ride behind another cyclist. You have to be 3 bike lengths behind another cyclist in front of you. And when you need to pass, you have 15 seconds to pass, which is plenty of time. And you want to let them know. I always recommend looking over my left shoulder to see if someone's passing me. And then I'll say on your left, and I'll pass them, and then don't cut in front of them too closely. Try to be as safe as possible. No drafting. Take the turns at your own ability, meaning you don't want to have a super tight, fast turn if you're not that comfortable on your bike. So always remember to take your slow, easy turn in a race so you can shift your gears when it gets, when it gets harder. That means you're not in the right gear. You want to have your legs spinning faster, like 85 to 95 RPMs, the whole bike. And the name of the game is just do the best you can. We don't have zones yet, heart rate zones or power zones. This is about just feeling good on the bike, feeling strong, and getting through the race, okay? Dismount before the dismount line, and then be careful running in your bike shoes back to your transition area. And I have another video in a minute. Let's see. So these are rules that you definitely want to pay attention to, but be careful on this bike video. The person stands up to pass, which I do not recommend. You want to stay seated the entire time on your bike. There should be not a time at all that you get off the saddle, okay?
USAT has many rules regulating the sport of triathlon. The rules that you'll need to be aware of while on the bike are the ones governing drafting,
that's 3 bike lengths,
and positioning. When riding in a triathlon, it is stated that you must ride to the far right side of the road and only pass on the left. When you are passing another cyclist in a race, you only have 15 seconds. That means once you initiate a pass, your front wheel must break the plane of the front wheel of the rider being passed. When passing someone who is just slightly slower than you, make certain to gather your strength and make a firm pass where you'll be able to move to the right after the pass. If someone passes you quite fast, that is no problem whatsoever. You will not have to alter your riding at all. If you want to repass the rider, you must first move out of the drafting zone before mounting your counterattack.
Okay, so that was a nice little video. You can find most of this stuff on YouTube. So you're gonna get off your bike, you're gonna run with your bike to the transition area. Remember where your transition area was. A lot of people actually lose their spot in transition. So you're gonna rack your bike, and then you actually wanna take your helmet off. Don't start the run with the helmet on. A lot of people do actually. And then switch your shoes. So take your bike shoes off, get your run shoes on, and then just grab everything else. Grab your visor, grab your race belt. And if you have a gel, just grab that and start moving, right? Don't stay there and have a picnic. A lot of people, I have a video of another girl who her friend, she asked her friend to videotape, and she had like 10 people come and go while she did her transition. She was like, I can't believe I took that long. Like, it's just not necessary. And then the shoes, those are the elastic laces that I highly recommend. Headphones are not allowed on races. So this is the last video, but it does show a couple different variations of the dismount that I want to recommend. But like I said, I do have a video coming out myself.
Just like your transition from swim to bike time, your bike to run time also counts towards your total race time. So the faster and more smoothly you can transition from bike to run, the faster you'll be on race day.
So see how he left his
Your transition begins at the bike dismount. Make sure you dismount your bike prior to the dismount line. In this example, the athlete stops and then hops off his bike.
Yeah.
You can also do a running dismount, which this athlete demonstrates nicely.
Yeah.
Let's watch that again. As you can see, the athlete has already stepped out of his bike shoes, so his feet are on top of his shoes, which are still attached to the pedal.
Yeah.
He's also brought one leg over his right leg till it's on the same side as his left, so that he can quickly step off the bike. Extremely fast. This is an advanced dismount and should be practiced many times before attempting on race day.
Yeah. A lot of people have accidents.
As you jog your bike into transition, keep it under control. Having noted in the morning where your transition space is, you can quickly find it during the race. You're going to quickly take off your bike gear, so your bike shoes, bike helmet, and put on your run gear. In this case, the athlete's putting on his race number belt and grabbing his running shoes. Grabs his glasses, and he's ready to go.
So he did everything.
In the case of this athlete, he did a running dismount because you can see his shoes are still connected to his bike pedals. He quickly finds his transition spot, racks his bike, takes off his bike helmet. Because he's not wearing socks, he can quickly pull on his shoes, then tighten the laces with lace locks. Next, he grabs his visor and then his race number belt, which he puts on as he exits the transition area.
Yeah. So that's just a little faster.
Two key things to remember. The first is to practice your transitions in training so that on race day it becomes second nature. The second thing is to simplify your transitions. The fewer things you take off and put on, the faster you'll be.
Yeah. Cool. Good video. Okay, so this is just a race of the map of the run. And these are the laces. So this is one brand of laces that you can get, but you can get them at any running store, like Elastic Races. You can also get them on Amazon. And for the run, the biggest thing is making sure you have a little bit faster legs, meaning a less resistance on the bike when you go to switch to the run, because it can help you feel quicker and lighter on the run. Aim to have 45 footsteps in 15 seconds while you're running. So that's your RPMs. Quick, light feet is one of my mantras. And then remember to breathe, right? A lot of times your heart rate's high, you just came off the bike. I would take the first like 3 to 5 minutes and really kind of gather yourself and let your heart rate come down. And then you can start to run and negative split. If you're walking, that's fine. Take regular walk breaks. But remember, it is a race, right? So you want to see what you can do. And of course, you want to be strong to the end, right? So the idea is to at least, run or even sprint that last 100 yards maybe. And yes, you are a triathlete. And I promise you, it's going to feel amazing. So pacing is racing. Take each discipline at your own ability. Start too fast, you might finish last, right? So pacing is racing. Know your heart rate zones. For a beginner plan, don't really worry about that, but just remember to stay under control. Know your edge, meaning don't push too hard on any one discipline so that you can stay under control, and remember your nutrition and hydration. Remember to return your timing chip. They usually take it from you when you cross the finish line. Be grateful for your strong, successful body. And don't forget to thank all the volunteers, because most of them are not getting paid to be there, and have fun and smile. And be super proud of yourself for doing a triathlon. So follow your race plan, not your friends. Visualize positively the whole race in your mind from start to finish. Have your mantras in place. Dig deep is a good one. Swim like a spear, or bubble, bubble, breathe. I can and I will. I can and I will. Those are all great mantras to practice, or you might have something that helps motivate you. Bonus tip, if you want to practice learning how to train without socks, you just kind of do it in increments. So start with 5 minutes at a time with no socks and using the baby powder and the Vaseline. And you can build up the time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. Usually when you get to 20 minutes, you're good. I have this video on my website. I don't know if it's gonna play. I don't think so. But basically it's me. Oh, it is. So there's the Vaseline, the non-petroleum Vaseline that I put inside the shoe, not on my foot, to help prevent. I just know I'll put my shoe on and I'll feel where there's any rubbing. And then I'll put the gel in there so it rubs the gel instead of rubs my skin. And I'll just dump a bunch of baby powder in there. I'll do it for both feet. And that's it. All right, guys, any questions? All right, let's close that. I'm afraid that I'm gonna disappear, you guys. Okay, any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Are you still there? Yeah.
Through the full circle website, can we sign up for there for the race, or we go directly to?
Yeah, go to the, I don't know why I can't see you guys, but your screen share is paused. Good, but how come I can't see you? But anyway, so basically go to the Game On Race Productions website and then register for the Sprint Distance Triathlon. It's gonna ask you everything you need to enter, and then use our Full Circle Coaching discount. which is in the email that I just sent you a few minutes ago, because I don't remember what it is. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I don't know why I can't see anything. Lots of technical difficulties today. All right. All right, you guys, any other questions? Okay, have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you guys at practice tomorrow. And if you have any other questions next week, look for a race plan. I'll be sharing that with you, and I'm super excited. You're going to be triathletes soon. Namaste. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye. I don't even know how to oh, there, I'm back at the end. I don't know what happened. Okay, I hope it recorded. Pause recording, stop recording, yay.